Hi folks, Phil here again with Phil's DIY. I'm bringing you another episode on a mod that I put on my RAV4 Prime. I wanted to see if I could install those mirror motors so that I could fold the mirrors in when I park and lock the car. And Car Trim Home has a set of these that they have on their website. Down below there's a link for it if you want to check it out. But they told me that they had had feedback from others that said that they could not be installed onto the Prime. So I said, well, send me a set and let me take a look at it. And so they did, and I've been working on this for a couple of months now, going back and forth with Car Trim Home. And the primary problem, well, there are two main problems. One is the housing that the motor is mounted into, that you have to put into the mirror housing. The size of the metal part, which is a cast aluminum, was a little bit too big in one spot. So I had to grind it down. Otherwise, it would make the plastic shell of the original motor bulge out and would leave a gap. And I didn't like that. The other problem is that there's a plastic bushing that protrudes about ½ inch beyond the housing of the motor mount, and that caused the whole assembly to not fit properly in the mirror housing. So what I ended up doing was I cut that bushing down to be flush with the motor housing. And all of this I'm going to show you in the video, but eventually I managed to sort out the grinding down of the metal housing, cutting down of the plastic bushing, and got it all back together. It's quite a challenging project. If any of you are handy with power tools, like a cutoff tool and a grinding tool, then by all means go for it. But otherwise, you may have some difficulty. The factory apparently will grind down that metal housing according to what I've described, but who knows whether it will actually fit or not. I know I got mine to fit, but that's kind of what I do, is I just figure things out and grind here, cut there, and finesse there, and swap out a part or two here, and I get it to work. And it's working now. So let's get on to the video, but don't forget, if you like what I'm doing here, be sure and click that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up on the video. Okay, let's get to the video. So these are all the components that I got with my auto folding mirror modification kit. It comes with the cast aluminum motor mount, two of them, one for left, you see the little letter L in there, and one for the right. There's the R. The control module is a nice small little box. There is a harness that plugs into it. This operates the mirrors when the car power or accessory is on. So while you're driving, if you need to fold the mirrors in to pass through a very narrow alley or something, they said that's what this is for. This one is power access. This plugs into the OBD2 port, and it pulls battery power and accessory power and ground. This is the data port. They had originally recommended this go onto a port in the steering column, so you'd have to take apart the plastic covers. But I found an exact same plug down by the left footrest. When you expose the cover down there, it plugs into there. And I've already tested it and everything functions, so that's where I'm going to be plugging it in. It comes with an extension cord for the power to the left motor, a longer one for the one on the right mirror, and then these two shorter ones for connecting that lead to the mirror motor plug-in up here. And it comes with a Velcro pad. I believe it's for using to mount the control box somewhere inside the underside of the dash, and a couple of these clips just in case you break one or two. So those are all the parts, and let's start taking things apart. We'll start with taking this trim piece out. It just pops out like so. This piece comes out by undoing that nut. It's a plastic nut. Okay, that's out. You pull over the screw part to release it and then pull. Sometimes the white clip stays in and it goes right here. So when you close it back up, you'll want to slip it that way. So I've got the panel off. The OBD2 connector is free from the panel. The data port is going to plug in right here. There's a data connector right here, which is identical to the one that I'm needing to plug in. It goes this way. This is going to go that way. Now, this cable right here, this is the one that goes out to the door through a grommet. And that's where I'm going to be feeding the power line going to the mirror motor. And the same goes on the other side, on the right side door. Then the connection for the OBD2 connector goes that way. And this one is going to be set back into the panel that I took down from here. So from the data port, there's a single wire. I believe this one will tell the control box that the door is locked or unlocked. The wires on the kit between the power to the module and then module to the switch is not long enough for where I wanted to put the switch. My plan was to put the switch in a blank spot on the center console just below the right side AC temperature knob. There's a blank plate there, and when I took the cover off, I saw that it was actually an opening for a switch. And this would perfectly fit, but the wires are too short to allow me to do that. So what I've decided to do is to put it in here. I never use this switch. I think that's the heated windshield for the wipers for extreme snow conditions where it's cold. I am in Southern California. I'm never going to use it. In fact, it's been a year and I've never used it. So I'm going to pop that one out and put this one in and just leave it off. To get that panel off, you need a 10mm socket. There's a bolt right here. Once the bolt is out, this whole assembly pops out. There are 3 clips here, here, and here, and then up here as well. So pop, like so, and the whole thing comes out. To get that switch out, there's a couple of tabs on the sides, one here and one here. You just have to reach in and press on the tab to release it from the frame. Press, and then you see how this part has now gone in. This side is going to do the same. I'm going to press, and then the whole thing just pops out. Kind of like that. It happened suddenly. That's the switch that just came out of there. And then I will put my new switch in. Just snaps right into place. There we have it, in place next to my fog light switch. I've decided to place the module right here. I'm going to use the Velcro to stick the module such that it sits basically just like that on this panel. And then once it's closed up, you won't see anything. And it's going to go like this. Let me just plug this guy in, and then I'll set it in place. Plug in all the switch connectors back. Just like that. Make sure they're all firmly seated, because this part snaps into this. So once you've got it lined up, you're going to push it all into place. Snap, snap, snap. Good. Next, I'm going to run the wire from here to the other side of the car, up through there. I decided I'm going to go through this space down here to run the wire across. And then I'll tuck it up underneath the plastic panels and then out here, because the wire is going to have to go through right there. So I've got the module installed in here and the power harness ready to go. It's connected. Data harness is in. Now I'm going to run this wire, which is for the left mirror. I have to get it through the grommet in there and then out of there into this tube and then into the door. So that's the next part of this project. This is the driver's side, and the passenger side is basically the same process on the other side. So I'm only going to show you this side. All right, so the first thing we have to do is disassemble this door panel. And to do that, we first have to pop out the switch panel. Okay, next I have to take out this little cover inside here. There we go. There. There we go. I know it sounds scary, like things are breaking, but really just tug on it firmly and it will come out. Just be careful not to pull straight out on this back piece. You want to slightly go backwards because there's a notch here that you don't want to break. Here and here and here are the screws that need to come out. And then pull the panel off. There we go. So now you have that off, but the cables for the door pull are right here, and you just pull it off out of the opening, then it just unhooks. There are two of them, one for the lock and one for the actual door latch. So they unhook like that, and then the door panel is free. Now, in order to get the wire through that grommet and up into here, this little guy has to get taken off as well. So there are, on this one, there are two tabs that you just kind of have to slip in the pry tool and disengage on each side, and then this comes out. And then that'll open up the hole through which we'll be able to fish the wire once we get it through the grommet. I'll try to show you the wire, how it got through. If you pull on this grommet, like so, you can see there's a hole right there. And once you have the grommet out, you can pull the mirror wire out through that hole in the post and then feed it into the opening that's been already cut out. Thank you, Toyota. You can get it in through there, through the rest of the rubber part, and out this way. The way I did that was I took a household wire, I think this is a 12 gauge or a 14 gauge, tied a piece of string to it, and then this I tied onto here. And then I pulled it through and pulled it out of the opening, and that's where I'm at now. Next, I'm going to retie this onto the string and then pull it in the door and have it come up out here. And then I'm ready to take the mirror off. This is the harness that goes to the mirror now. My wire is going to go through that same opening. In order to get the mirror off, there are 3 nuts that have to come off from in here. You need an extension on your socket wrench. Reach up. And you got to be careful such that you have the nut in your hand when it comes out. There is a little plastic tab that holds that mirror in place as you take your nuts off, so it should hold. Just in case I'm going to have my hand available here. Looks like it's going to hold. Let me get that nut off of here. Yeah, it's holding. We'll take this connector off. And then it comes out. All right, so I'm going to open up the mirror. There it goes. Now it's coming out. There we go. So that's how you get this cover off. That's part one. I believe I have to take off these nuts. This cover is supposed to come off. This red protective tape should be taken off and reused. Okay, so that's for later use. And then, there we go. Once you have this cover off, you can access these 3 screws. They're Torx head screws. I believe they're number 20 or 25, but there's that. And then there's also 3 screws that have to come off here. Actually, 2 to get the turn indicator light assembly out. Should come out like so. And unplugs here. Okay, now this part of the bracket is held on by this whole assembly, so I think when I get this apart, that should come out. Yep, it's a 25. 1, 2, 3. So that comes out. Okay, now there are 2 screws here that are holding all of that in place, so that's coming out next. These 2 screws come out, and that should allow me to get these screws out. So that comes out. I've got these screws. Oh, there's one more screw there. Yep, just unplugs that way. There, this one, there is a tab right there. What you undo, and then once you do that, you can get to this. Let's see, like so. Okay, so then the mirror assembly will come out. That leaves me this whole assembly. I believe these guys also come out. So this plug disassembles. There's a tab right here that you can push to release each plug. And that, there it goes. Got it. Okay, that's one. And out she comes. Okay, so now we have the big plug off, and this will come out like so. And it'll come out that way, and then that way, and then eventually out this way. And that's the part that we're replacing. It's supposed to just slip right into place. The holes are lined up. That hole is lined up. Okay. So now, one of these guys plugged in. So that goes through there and plugs in right there on top. Okay. Then this needs to also now feed through like so. This one can be screwed down. These 4 will be screwed into the motor, into the mirror. This guy. It snaps in. Okay. And then okay, well, this has to get put back like that, and then this one like so. This has to be plugged into there, but meanwhile, it's not sitting right. Now I'm ready to reassemble it. I'm not so sure about this gap right here. I'm gonna try just putting it all back together and see if that allows me to get it all closed properly. I have a mechanical problem. Basically, this plastic bushing that's part of the housing of the motor protrudes too far, and that's preventing me from attaching the bottom side of the housing. The original does not have that protruding piece in the middle. You see the difference? So what I've decided to do, cut that piece off right there. And then that will still keep the plastic bushing, but it'll be flush with here, and that'll allow this part to screw on. That plastic is flush now with the body, the metal body. So that's going to mount better now, or it's going to mount, period. So I've got the plastic pieces trimmed, and now the housing should mount nicely. So it goes through here. And then all that fits back through this hole. So just cover that. Now let's see. There were with this, like so. And lastly, put this piece of tape back on. So, and then so this part does protrude a little bit more so than it was original. Okay, so I have the driver's side mirror attached. I don't have the door panel reinstalled yet, but I wanted to fully test it. So now if I hit the lock button, it folds down, and I hit unlock, it unfolds. Lock, unlock. So this kit causes my mirror housing to bulge like this, leaving that crack right there. And I'm going to try to modify it by basically grinding away the offending pieces on both the motor housing and the plastic shell itself, because of the way the new one, the aluminum housing, was molded. It's a little bit too big, so I'm going to grind it down and make it fit. Alright, I'll try to show what the problem is here. Right here, the metal housing for this new motor causes this piece to stick out this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be grinding this down and making adjustments, modifications to this section of the plastic tab that screws onto the metal housing. And I did it already on the driver's side, and everything fit now, and so I'm doing that on this one. This is after I ground down the this end of this motor housing. So basically all of this right in here, I ground it down probably about 1/8 of an inch from the original. So I also had to substitute this screw. The screws that came with this kit had washers already attached to it permanently, and with the washer it wouldn't clear the side of the metal housing here, so I wouldn't be able to put that in. So I found in my chest of spare parts a screw with no washer on it, and that fits perfectly into that hole and does its job. So the folks at Car Trim Home also sent me these progressive LED flashers to put in here, and since I have the mirror assembly open, I decided I'm going to install that now. You have to make sure that the weather seal goes behind this shell, like so. Firmly snug to that end. There is a clip right there that snaps into place like so, and this upper housing, or the bracket, also goes right up against there. There we go. Okay. There you have it. I have the progressive LED flashers, and both sides work. The gap that I had right in here, I've managed to close it up by grinding down the various parts. And here as well, I like the closure of that gap that was there. Okay, that's it, folks.